On Ukraine, Jen, President Biden said that we should give diplomacy every chance to succeed. Secretary Blinken, after his call with Foreign Minister Lavrov, said that a window remains open to resolve this peacefully. On the timeline, how long does the president think that window should stay open if there's no invasion but also no pullback of Russian troops?
Well, what's the alternative if we don't leave the window to diplomacy open? Right? I mean, our objective, obviously, as you heard the president say today, there is no threat the United States is posing to Russia, to the Russian people. There's no threat that Ukraine is posing to Russia. What we're working to do here is leave a forum for de-escalation and prevent a war. And so to us, the door to diplomacy should always be open, and we should always look for opportunities to de-escalate.
Concerned this turns into like a frozen conflict, basically, where troops just stay on the border and there's no invasion but also no pullback?
Well, again, there's going to have to be a continued dialogue and discussion, but Russia not invading Ukraine and not risking and impacting the lives of many, many people in that country, including potentially American citizens, would certainly be a step we would welcome.
What Americans should prepare for, you mentioned the threat of cyber attacks. The president mentioned that as well. And we know Homeland Security has previously mentioned they've seen an uptick in scanning on U.S. critical infrastructure and so on. Should Americans be prepared for a potential Russian cyber attack on critical U.S. infrastructure or other networks?
Well, I would say even before we've been discussing the buildup of troops at the border, and even before we've been discussing the bellicose rhetoric, we have seen an uptick in cyber activity by malicious actors around the world, either those living in countries or the countries themselves. And so that is something, I don't have any new threat or new warning to pose today, but that is something we have certainly been amping and increasing our focus on as a threat that's emerging, but has been the case for the last several years.
Can you take a question on Africa?
Yeah, 1 second, go ahead, and then I'll go to you.
Jen, just this hour, lawmakers put out a bipartisan statement warning President Putin. I know you've said from the podium that the White House doesn't need Congress to pass a sanctions package to implement your own sanctions package, but wouldn't it have sent a stronger message if there had been an agreement reached? What message do you think it sends to Putin that all we got out of Congress was a statement?
I think President Putin knows very clearly, because he's heard it directly from President Biden's mouth, that if he invades Ukraine, that there will be crippling sanctions, and we don't need Congress to act in order to do that.
And when will the president make a decision on any new energy policies to impact prices at the pump? Because even without an invasion, prices have risen beyond where they were before the emergency reserve release back in November.
You're right, and the president is very focused on making sure we're doing everything we can to lower the cost for Americans in any way it hits them, whether it's prices at the pump or when you go buy a pound of meat or wherever it may be. So we're continuing to assess, and he's continuing to look at options. I don't have a prediction of any decision, though. Go ahead.